Hello, and welcome to another episode of Aiding Your Game, a web series where we discuss how to bring more enhancement and engagement to your role-playing games. We apologize for the setting. We are still not yet in our studio, but we are hoping to be within the next month or so. So, we hope the content of our video series is enhancing, though the visual aspects may be a little challenging. Bear with us as we continue to bring you what we feel is good content to help augment and enhance your games. Today, we're going to be discussing the first steps after gathering your group and getting ready to play a tabletop game. So, let's dive in. In the last episode, we talked kind of about the questions that need answered of who, where, when, and how. So now we want to change the aspect a little bit into the person who is going to be kind of running or leading the group, which generally is going to be the game master. Game master, of course, for any of the role-playing sessions with Dungeons and Dragons, that is generally a dungeon master, but we'll use game master to cover a broader spectrum of tabletop role-playing games. Now, of course, we are going to do a couple of plugs for some of the products we offer and sell. So diving right into that, we are going to talk a little bit about our campaign binder. Here is the D20 version. As a GM, it can be very overwhelming with all of the content out there. There is so much to take in, and you can literally spend hundreds of hours just learning about how to GM, some of the things you should or should not do. There are hundreds of different ideas. Again, to people who are new to the community, this can be very overwhelming. One of the hopes that we at Green Oaks RPG Game Aids hope to establish is to make that an easy transition. Everybody starts somewhere, and it should be as easy as possible. With our campaign binders, of course, we wanted this to be that entry point on where even experienced people who want a fresh take and a fresh start can really start something simple and build from there. Of course, this lends its hand to creative people as just a starting point, allowing you then to create as you go. This way, it doesn't cut out people who want to bring their own homebrew or experience or crafting love to the table. Again, this is designed just as a starting point, which I feel is very important to bring up to the community because we see so many new people joining the community. So looking at that aspect of it, if you have just established a gaming group and you've got a time slot selected and you're ready to begin your gaming experience, or you're just finished a campaign and you want to start something fresh and new, the easiest thing to do is to bog yourself down and get overwhelmed, which can hamper the gameplay in many aspects. Taking a different approach of start simple and build from that simple can be very rewarding. While you may want to create some of the content yourself, again, that takes time. And oftentimes time is not as wealth of a resource as we wished it would be. So using our campaign binder as an example, it's really designed to plug and play in any system, whether you're doing a Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder. We even have sci-fi ones for if you're playing Star Wars or Star Frontier. There are a lot of opportunities to utilize these game aids and get your gaming started. One of the biggest things that I tell newer people to the hobby is don't plan for that 20-year session. Get a good story arc, decide what type of play style you want to play if you're going to focus more on high fantasy or political intrigue. Get your story arc in place, but plan it for a shorter piece because some people, especially with newer gaming groups, they may decide it's not the group for them, and people who will start the gaming group will not be there after a few sessions. So it's relatively easy to overwhelm yourself and overburden yourself unnecessarily. And that's not going to add to your gaming experience. It's not going to add to your player's gaming experience. So get a story arc and something you can build on. Even if it's not something that's going to go on for years, you can always reference back to it and bring the players back to those initial straws of the gaming group's beginnings, which can be a lot of fun and rewarding in and of itself. With the campaign binders, that's exactly what they're designed for. It starts with very little content, but something that's in-depth enough to give you the tools you need to start a game. It's going to start with how do you pull the group together and why are they together? Of course, it isn't going to answer some of the fundamental questions of how does the party start together, but it gives you the locations, the areas, and some opportunities for them to agree to adventure together. There's lots of opportunity for you to embellish on that and change that up and make it your own. The biggest opportunity for newer gamers is to learn and grow together, whether that's from the GM standpoint or the player standpoint. The opportunity is this should be a shared experience for everybody to grow and develop and create their own. The misconception on the community that it has to be one certain way or another is getting a lot of attention now, and many people are coming and saying everybody is playing different and that's okay, which is true and it's very good advice. The mistake often found by new gamers or new gaming groups, I've had to do this several times having moved with work, having to start new gaming groups, is the session 0 or even session 1 players that you have, they may not be there for several sessions. So really starting small and building up from that small can really allow you to develop your play style and learn whether or not the people who are there at your session 0 or session 1, if they're going to be the gamers that you want to game with for a longer period of time. Knowing how to manage those opportunities to game together can be a daunting task in and of itself. If you can't have your table play well together, then it's not going to be a good experience for anyone. So plan small so that you can see how is the engagement. Are people buying my storytelling style? Are people engaged in the game? Do they work cooperatively as a group? And whether it's an evil campaign or a good campaign or whatever the theme of the campaign is, you'll quickly learn how to really manage that time to not only your advantage to where you're getting the most enjoyment out of it, but your players as well. One of the biggest things is clear communication. Make sure that you're letting people know the theme, of course, of the campaign or the story arc that you want to explore first. That's very important. Then also talk about some of the expectations and roles that everybody should be bringing to your table. As a GM or putting together a game group, clear communication is key and vital to keep that gaming group together and moving forward. There is never an ideal time to wait to discuss something. However, if you have good, strong communication and really discuss things as a gaming group, it can alleviate a lot of problems down the road. Of course, as you are putting together your gaming group, the expectations from your players to you should also be clearly communicated. Often ask for advice. Don't take things personal. Ask questions and utilize their wants and desires as well. What do they want to get from the game? Are they just escaping realism for a few hours so they can do something different? Or are they really looking for an enhancing experience at your table? It's not bad to have a variation of different types of players at your table. My current campaign, we have people who are very RP heavy and those who are just there to beat things up. And that's okay. As a GM, it's my job to really know their play styles, what they're hoping to get out of the game, and play to them. While a lot of people will say those types of people don't mesh well together, they actually can, and I've been able to use it very successfully. Those who are looking for the heavy RP experience, I try to give them plenty of content for them to interact with and let the person who is just there for combat be able to go and have a few ales while the RP piece is taking place. And then when combat is getting into the thick of it, and that's where they want to be and are most excited and engaged about it, while the RP player may hang back and be that support piece, give them their moment to shine. It's going to make the table dynamic more defined and cohesive. Those people who are super combat heavy will appreciate it, and as I've seen in my tabletop, start to take more elements of that RP piece rather than just sitting at the tankard. They may have some type of interaction that previously they didn't. This is growth and development that's huge and healthy. Those that are super RP heavy and don't want to do just constant combat, they begin looking for, what does this combat lead to? How can I use this to augment my character and his drives and ambitions and goals? And it's a great way to intertwine some of your story elements into the different play styles of your players. So knowing your players is a big piece. To do that, the best way to do or to learn is to actually play with them. And that's why those story arcs, in my opinion, for newer groups, it's great to start small and build on that. You can have a story arc that's only covering a couple of sessions and may end. That doesn't mean it's the end of the campaign, and that doesn't mean that's your entire campaign. But if you think of it from that aspect, you can really learn your players and have them learn you so much easier than thinking of the 20-year story arc and campaign. While it can be challenging then to get these smaller story arcs woven together, that's some of the things you can do in your back time. With my current campaign, it started with a village who was being run by a were-rat, and the primary goal was for this band of adventurers to get together to stop this evil were-rat from enslaving the town and driving them into economic and social ruin. They achieved this goal and wanted to continue on with the characters they had. I had no intention of it initially. I just wanted to get them used to my play style and see what their play styles were like. This entire piece only took 4 or 5 sessions to get through. However, I then used that to build onto a broader storyline. Why was the were-rat there? What were his goals? How did that impact the community surrounding this town? And built from that point. Initially, that wasn't my goal. It was just to get them together to learn from them and learn what they did and how they played, and then move into a more established campaign. They had so much fun and interacted so well. Through some changes, we did have some difficulties where there were some players who did not mesh well with others, but I was able to learn and develop and decide who's going to play best with my style and who is going to take the most from this opportunity and experience. After a few sessions, probably a few months actually, worth of play, the consensus of the group was these characters that they had invested this time and effort into, they wanted to see through to level 20. Definitely put some burdens on me, but it was something that they were very excited about and engaged about, and they've put so much time and effort into it. Me as a GM, the additional campaign that it was the primary campaign I wanted to play, that took a backstage, and we're moving forward with their characters as planned. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been fantastic to see them develop their play styles over time. And that's really what drives the gaming community, is that development over time. So there again, by having lower expectations from the beginning and planning smaller pieces, we're able to build out a bigger opportunity for ourselves and for our players, which adds to the community. By bringing that level of engagement and fun and appreciation for the hobby, we're enticing more people to try it and have that fun. Prior to taking on any of the mantles of those long, well-established campaigns that we see in podcasts and hear about through friends and the community, everybody who's new to the hobby, I really encourage, start small, start simple, start manageable, and then build from there. Now, as I've mentioned a little bit before, I do have to talk a little bit about one of our products, which is the campaign binder. Again, that's the D20 binder with our logo on the back. This is a decorative piece to enhance your game, really just a starting point for new stories. So handcrafted, and really take some elements to start your game out. So an area map, so you can show the players this is where we're going to be playing. And while it does not go into one of the established canon locations, again, this is a multiverse and you can start it where you want. You can even just use it for that initial piece of, here's what we're going to do to get to learn how we're going to play together. Based off of that, there is a city map that is located on one of the locations on the main map. There is a map of a encounter area or a dungeon also located on the map. And there is each of these is going to be unique and different. There are no two that are the same, but a story starting point. So this one has a note written in Draconic and is kind of an invitation to begin an adventure. Those who have that Draconic language comprehension, there is a description of what it is, what it says, rather, so that anybody who has chosen that language can understand what it is. But it adds that element of excitement for those who don't. You don't have to give them that translation. You can give them the story hook and let them have to RP to find out what does it say. Of course, some plot hooks. Again, you don't have to start with the player handout that's included, but there are just some random plot hooks to get you going. One of the biggest discussions is, how do I start my adventure? I don't want everybody to meet up in a tavern, which is great, but the prison escape is also, I would say, possibly even more used than meeting in a tavern, but some good plot hooks on how to get people started. There is a list of quick NPC names so that as they are moving through those early stages, you can quickly find some salt and pepper, I call it, into your campaign. And then just a couple of non-player characters. Again, these are kept very generic so that you can use these in any play system. Really more descriptive than anything else, because I think that's the opportunity for the characters to start getting engaged with the world around them, and for the players to kind of feel and hear and see what their characters are experiencing. So we went over a lot. I hope it was beneficial to you, and I hope you enjoyed the content and continue to follow us. Subscribe down below, of course. We do have a giveaway for when we hit certain different milestones. Help us grow into our new space so that it isn't as distracting an environment on videos moving forward. Of course, we do have some of the gear giveaway. I'm wearing one here of one of our RPG shirts. You can purchase those online. Also, the link will be down below. And thank you for supporting Green Oaks RPG Game Aids, and always ask yourself, where will your adventures take you? Thank you.